What is up, guys? I'm your friendly neighborhood Web-Warrior Fanatic, and this will just be a quick video talking about Hercules and how his three labors work here with the Marvel Champions official rulings, because I've seen a little bit of a misconception in the community, and I think it's a little bit counterintuitive and a little bit confusing here. So let's go ahead and just get into it here. So Hercules, he starts the game with this labor deck, and he has Defeat the Hydra, Embody Pathos, and Protect Humanity as, these three encounter cards in his labor deck. And then with his alter ego ability here, he can, if there is no labor card in play, you can review the top card of that labor deck, right? So basically, you'll randomly get one of these cards and they'll be put into play. So they all have like specific things that you need to do to clear them off. So right here for Defeat the Hydra, this is an attachment. You get this labor here, it has a victory keyword. Whenever it's reviewed, you find any non-elite minion with at least 6 printed hit points, reveal it, heal all damage from it, and you attach this card to it. So I do want to clarify that you're allowed to find a minion that is already in play, right? So you can find any minion from the player, from a set aside area, just any minion, you find it, you put it in play, and then you review that minion, and then you attach this card to it, give it the elite trait, and the minion will also get +6 hit points as well. But the attached minion cannot take damage except from Hercules' attacks, right? So I think this is pretty thematic for Hercules, right? Because he has to be the one to clear out the labors, not your allies and not other players helping Hercules attack, right? So he has to be the one to do that himself. But a weird thing with this is that, it makes sense that Hercules needs to do the actual damage himself. But the exact wording with this, and Marvel Champions is very particular about wording, is that the minion can only take damage from Hercules' attacks, which means even if he does damage, if it's not considered attack damage, then it will not be able to actually do damage to that minion. So for example here, if we take a look at a card like Plasma Pistol, this is a 2-cost upgrade. It's restricted, comes with 3 charge counters. As a hero action, you can exhaust the Plasma Pistol and remove a charge counter to deal 1 damage to enemy. Well, in Marvel Champions, upgrades are extensions of the hero, right? Like supports are like something else, allies are something else, but if you play like an event or an upgrade, it counts as your hero doing that thing, right? So Hercules, you give him a plasma pistol, he's the one, shooting with the pistol, and it's considered him doing damage. And if he defeats a minion or defeats an enemy, it does count as Hercules defeating that enemy if he's using his plasma pistol. However, there is no attack word right there. So even though it's, Hercules doing the damage, he is not actually attacking. So whenever you use the plasma pistol to defeat, this Hydra minion or to do damage to it, it actually won't do any damage because it's not damage from Hercules' attacks, right? If he actually wants to do damage to it, he has to do something with the attack word. Like for example, with his attack event, the Gift of Battle, it says hero action attack, which means that this card right here is an attack event that's dealing attack damage. If Hercules exhausts uses basic attack of 3, that's also considered attack damage, right? These are ways for Hercules to actually do damage to this Hydra minion. And if you use a card like the Plasma Pistol, it actually, counterintuitively doesn't do damage to that minion, right? So just make sure we're not using, cards like this to do damage to the Hydra minion because it actually won't work. Same thing with like Yarm here. This is a 1-cost upgrade. It's another, upgrade. So it's an extension of your hero. After your hero attacks an enemy, so Hercules, plays an attack event or makes a basic attack, it's considered him attacking an enemy. You can spend a physical resource to do 2 damage to an enemy. So you can pick the same enemy or a different enemy to do 2 damage to. With Yarm, it's like a weapon. It's like your weapon, basically, right? You spend a physical resource, you can do 2 damage, but, you cannot actually do 2 damage to this Hydra minion because the minion can only take damage from Hercules' attacks after it has his labor attached to it, right? So that's a little bit weird, right? I think that it's a little bit counterintuitive. I would have thought that Yarm can work for this. I would have thought that the Plasma Pistol also works for this. But unfortunately, they do not, even though they are considering your hero, doing the damage. It's not attack damage, so you cannot damage, this Hydra minion for this labor with cards like that. And also, Retaliate in Marvel Champions is also not considered attack damage, right? So Hercules has a way to get Retaliate here with the Gaunts of Hercules. Whenever Hercules defends against an attack, exhausted, he gets Retaliate 1 for each gift card you control. Also, one of his gifts here, it's going to be the Shield of Perseus. This one also gives him Retaliate 1. So if you have this, upgrade already in play, like this gift, and then the Hydra minion right here attacks you, well, you retaliate, but they won't take any damage because it's not damage from a Hercules attack. So yeah, a little bit weird there how that works, but that is, with the current rules of Marvel Champs and how this is worded, unfortunately, Hercules must actually do attack damage to defeat this Hydra here, which I personally don't like. I feel like thematically it would make more sense if Hercules can retaliate. If as long as Hercules doing damage, I think it should count as damage for Hydra, but as the way that the rules are right now, it doesn't count. But definitely, if you want to house rule that and say that as long as Hercules is the one doing damage, it counts. I think that no one's going to complain about that. Thematically, it would make sense for Hercules to retaliate, still punch back, the Hydra and do damage to it. But mechanically, in Marvel Champions with the official rules, it won't work. And it's going to be the exact same thing for the Embody Pathos right here, right? So this one, when revealed, you find an encounter side scheme that's not in play, and you reveal it, treating each player icon as one, attaches a card to it, and you place 6 additional threat on that side scheme. And the attached side scheme gains assault. So, that's really nice. If you guys don't know what that is, it means that whenever Hercules is using his basic thwart stat right here, right? Whenever he's basic thwarting, he can actually use his attack stat instead. So if he exhausts a thwart, you can use whatever your attack stat is, and his base attack stat is 3. So if he exhausts here, he can actually thwart for 3 on this side scheme that Embody Pathos is attached to, because that side scheme has, assault on it. So that's pretty nice. However, threat cannot be removed from the attached scheme except by Hercules' thwarts. So this is the exact same wording here as the Defeat the Hydra. So similar to this one right here, Hercules has to actually be doing, either a thwart event or a basic thwart or anything that's considered a thwart to be thwarting from the side scheme that Embody Pathos is attached to. So, if he plays like a thwart event like his, where's his thwart event here? It's going to be at the bottom right here. His Wisdom of Athena, 3-cost event. It's hero action thwart, right? It's a thwart event, remove 4 threat from a scheme. So this will definitely work to remove threat, from the Embody Pathos side scheme here. But let's take a look at a card like a Justice card like Stealth Strike, for example, right? So this is a 3-cost event in the Justice aspect. It's an attack event, right? It has an attack word right here. Hero action attack, do 4 damage to enemy. So let's say you play this card, you do 4 damage like a minion, right? You defeat that minion. It says if that enemy is defeated by this attack, which in this situation, it is, remove 2 threat from a scheme. So you can take 2 threat off of any scheme, either the main scheme or a side scheme. However, like we talked about before with the labor for doing damage for the Hydra labor, you cannot remove 2 threat from whatever side scheme the Embodied Pathos is attached to, because the threat can only be removed by Hercules' thwarts, right? It cannot be removed by anything else. So Stealth Strike is Hercules attacking, right? It's Hercules actually attacking because it has an attack right there. So he's attacking, someone else. But the effect here to remove 2 threat is not considered thwarting. So unfortunately, that's another really weird thing there. But whenever he uses this card right here, he will not be able to actually remove threat from that Embodied Pathos side scheme, which I feel like, once again, is kind of not that thematic, because it's still Hercules doing the threat removal, right? So to clear out the labors, it's still him doing that work. But unfortunately, mechanically, with how the rules are worded and how this card is worded, he can actually not remove threats with anything that's not a thwart, like the Stealth Strike, right? So that one's a little bit weird. I was a little bit surprised to find that out myself, but yeah, not all people kind of know about this rule, because I think it's a little bit obscure, a little bit confusing, but that is how that works. And while we're on the subject, I do want to talk a little bit about Hercules' labors, and I want to talk about Protect Humanity as well, just to clarify some other rulings. So right here, with the way that these labors work, is that they have the victory keyword. So whenever the attachment is on like a minion or on a side scheme, whenever that minion or side scheme is defeated, then this card right here will go into the victory display, right? The side scheme or the minion has to get defeated. So if this is attached to a minion and the minion is discarded by like whatever card effect, or if it goes back into the counter deck or like whatever reason, right? If it's not defeated, then this card will actually not go into the victory display. So you really, really want to actually defeat that minion. And for the side scheme, you want to defeat the side scheme, right? You don't want to just like have it, somehow get out of play, like go out of play without actually getting defeated. Because if you want this to go into the victory display and trigger Hercules' ability here, Atonement, where it's a response after a labor card is added to the victory display, then you can get a gift card and Ready Hercules and do all of these powerful effects, right? But you actually have to get these into the victory display, and the only way to do that is by actually defeating the thing that it's attached to, right? Whether it's the side scheme or a minion, right? So some people have talked a little bit about Vivian. Whenever she enters play, you can choose an attachment, and then you can, until the end of the round, treat the card's print text box as if it were blank except for the traits, right? So you can actually target, back to Hercules labors here, you can target this attachment or this attachment right here. Vivian can blank out the effects of the attachment, but if you do that, you also blank out the victory word right here. So if, you blank this out, sure, your friends, and your allies can help you attack and defeat the minion, and the minion also loses 6 hit points. But if that minion is defeated, then this side scene kind of like goes into like limbo, right? Because it won't go into the victory display anymore after that minion is defeated, because Vivian blanked out that victory keyword. So, a little bit of a weird thing there. So Vivian's actually probably not the best card to help Hercules kind of like cheat through the side scene, which I think is kind of nice because, we don't want another loophole here with Hercules, defeating the side scene. We actually want him to do the work to defeat it. And then finally, I want to talk a little bit about Protect Humanity right here. So this is also one of the cards in the labor deck. This is an obligation though. So when you get this obligation, it's going to just sit in your play area until you can remove it by removing the 3 labor counters, right? So this comes in with 3 labor counters as a victory keyword. When the 3 counters are all gone, this card will, go into the victory display and get removed from the game because it has that useless keyword, right? So it must have labor counters for it to, stay in play. So whenever this card is reviewed, you find Amadeus Cho, your identity-specific ally, you put him into play, so you just put Amadeus Cho right here into play, which is, very beneficial for the player. And there is a force interrupt here. When the villain would attack Hercules, you choose one of your allies. The villain attacks that ally instead. Then, after that attack resolves, if Hercules defends the attack, remove a labor counter from here. So basically, since this is forced, it basically forces the villain to attack one of your allies whenever it would attack Hercules instead, and you need to, have Hercules jump in the way, defend the ally like he's doing right here to get a labor counter off. And you gotta do that 3 times to remove all 3 labor counters to add this into the victory display, and then get Hercules to, get one of his gifts, trigger Atonement right here and get this effect off. Okay, so that's gonna go towards like defending. I'll put a link somewhere for you guys to click on for my how to defend in Marvel Champions. It's a little bit convoluted with how the rules with that works. But basically, as long as Hercules is defending, then he is able to remove a labor counter from here, but he must be the one defending. So the easy way to defend in Marvel Champs is just to exhaust here and do a basic defense. That's going to be using your basic defense stat of 2, right? So when the villain attacks, you declare Amadeus Cho, right, with the right here where it says choose one of your allies. So let's say you choose Amadeus Cho, right? Now the villain attack is going on Amadeus Cho. Well, you can just exhaust Hercules, right? He's defending using his defense stat 2. The attack will redirect and attack Hercules. Then after that attack, it's considered Hercules defending, for the ally. So then you can remove a labor counter from here. One really, really cool thing with this is that you can also use the Herc's Helm here to do that, right? Because just like with attack and thwarting, if it has that word right there, it counts as you doing that. So Hero Interrupt, this is a 0 cost upgrade, by the way. So you just play this, on table for free, and it just stays on the table. As a Hero Interrupt defense, when the villain attacks, you can exhaust Herc's Helm, reduce the amount of damage this attack deals by 1. That is really awesome, guys. This is like probably one of his best cards, if not his best card, because you can just play this, on turn 1 and already get the effects out of it, right? So not only does it reduce the amount of damage attack deals by 1, but it has the defense word right there, which means that it counts as Hercules defending. So if, for example, you have this obligation in play, and then you declare the attack to go to Amadeus Cho, you can keep Hercules ready up, right? And you just trigger the helmet right here, you exhaust it, and then because it has a defense keyword, the attack will automatically get redirected towards Hercules. So without him using his basic defense, he's still defending because he's using a card that has a defense word. So that is really nice to allow him to, stay right up for the player phase to, still be able to thwart or attack. And then he can defend for Amadeus Cho while being readied up during that villain phase, and it reduces the amount of damage, dealt by 1. So this is a very, very good card to help you clear out the Protect Humanity. And it has very good synergy with Hercules because of the Son of Zeus here, right? If you can get a tough stats card, well, you can trigger Herc's Helm, and then you can redirect the attack to Hercules without him exhausting, and the tough will soak all the damage for Hercules. So yeah, that's a very, very nice combo with Hercules here. But yeah, I just want to clarify a little bit about how the Herc's Helm here works with Protect Humanity. And I also want to talk a little bit about how Herc's Helm works with Hercules himself, right? So since Herc's Helm here, it does have that defense word right there, right? Let's say you don't care about the obligation, you're not really doing that, right? You just have Hercules and the villain attacks you, right? and then let's say you exhaust Herc's Helm because it says when the villain attacks. So this is before you see the boost card. When the villain attacks, you exhaust the helm, right? Then Hercules is now defend the attack, and then you reduce the amount of damage the attack deals by 1. Well, let's say you see the boost card now, right? You review the boost card, and it's like, I don't know, a 4 booster, right? So it's a ton of damage on a villain, and they're hitting you for a bunch of damage, and now you're like, oh crap, maybe I don't want to take this damage. Well, even if you have allies in play, you can no longer exhaust the allies to defend that attack. Because of that defense word right there, the moment that you use this effect, the attack is going towards Hercules no matter what, right? No other ally, no other player can jump in a way and protect Hercules from the attack, because the moment that a defender is declared, you can't change that anymore, right? So if you exhaust an ally and declare the defender, you can no longer use Herc's Helm and redirect attack over to Hercules after you already declared the ally defender, right? There can only be one defender for an attack, right? There's things that happen, like if the ally is defeated, with the boost effect, for example, then the attack will redirect over to Hercules because the ally is not in play anymore. But that's like, actually, that can actually happen quite often. But we're not really talking about that for this video. But basically, just know that if you use Herc's Helm or any other card that has a defense word right there, the attack will automatically go to Hercules, and he's considered defending no matter what. So if you do that for Hercules, you have to have him take the attack. You cannot later on exhaust an ally and have the attack redirect to the ally. And then one other rules clarification for Herc's Helm here. Sorry guys, a little bit of a longer video actually. But I do want to clarify that if you exhaust Herc's Helm here to reduce the amount of damage dealt by 1, you can still exhaust Hercules to have him make a basic defense with his defense out of 2. You just have to make sure that you do that before the boost card is reviewed, right? Because you got to make sure that you do the timing correctly. But Herc's Helm does stack with Herc's basic defense, right? Because it's all Hercules defending, so you're able to stack multiple type of like defense stuff as long as it's the same character defending, right? So as long as it's Hercules defending, you can still use Herc's Helm. You can play defense events. You can have him basic defend as well because it's all him defending. Just make sure that you follow the correct timing window for the events or for the basic defense. But yeah, that's basically how Hercules works here. A little bit of some rules confusion there I've seen in the community. So yeah, I just wanted to clear it up for you guys in case you guys weren't clear about how Hercules works with his labors, because he is a very unique hero. I think he's an awesome hero, super duper fun. But he brings some new mechanics here, Marvel Champions, with like a labor deck, and then with like victory keywords. So you want to move them into the victory display, and then he gets like a response where that happens, and he gets like buffed up and he gets gifts and all that stuff. So yeah, I just want to make sure everyone understands and we're all on the same page with his rulings. So yeah, that is it for this video, guys. Hopefully it helped anyone that was not cleared with how Hercules works. Let me know down in the comments how you guys are enjoying Hercules, guys. He is probably my favorite of the two right now, Hercules and Wonder Man. I think I like Hercules a little bit more right now. He is so much fun when he's built out, and I think he is, I don't know if this is too early to say, but okay, he's definitely one of my favorites. One of my favorite multiplayer heroes. I don't think he's one of my favorite true solo heroes right now, but in multiplayer, he is one of the funnest heroes ever because he can really have that breathing room to like just do crazy stuff. Focus on his labors. The other players help you deal with everything else. You're kind of selfish, but then once your gifts are in play, you just pop the heck off and you come in like saving the day. I love that feeling, guys. So yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying Hercules. I hope you guys all found this video informative, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.